He chased me around the house, pushed me down. He starts kicking me everywhere, from my stomach, my back, my butt area, just kicking me. And then he bends down, just start hitting me in my face. And that was probably one of my lowest moments at the beginning of the marriage. I always felt as if they really didn't understand. They really didn't understand me and what I was going through, or how to handle the situation properly, because I could have lost my life at any time. There were times where I just didn't even tell them about situations where I got hit, or pushed, choked, slap, whatever. I remember one day I could have I almost lost consciousness because of how hard I was pushed against the wall, and there was a hot iron still on from him doing his clothes, and it had just missed my face and my body. And I'm just like, I can't do this. And I started to be scrutinized and ostracized by a lot of church members as well, in different congregations, where I didn't even feel comfortable after the separation and the divorce going to certain congregations, because certain people look at you funny, right? Where it's like, oh, you're going to hell, because it's like, well, then I'll go to hell, and I'll see him there, and I'll probably go see you there too. It was to a point, that's how tired I was of the abuse in that marriage. I was willing to go to hell. I got comfortable with hell. I was like, fine.
Hello, welcome to Tuko Talks. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Now, my guest today is here so that hundreds of young women do not make the same mistakes she made. And she is not ashamed of her story, because she says only by confronting your past will you be able to move forward. So without further ado, please allow me to let her introduce herself. Hello, Ma. Hi.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to Tuko.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, please introduce yourself.
So yes, my name is Kiara, aka the Queen Key on YouTube, and I am here in the beautiful Nairobi, Kenya, and I got to the continent a few months ago. I am here. What started to be, or what was originally supposed to be a career journey, has now turned into both. A career / spiritual self-development journey. And so just finding myself, discovering the land, and also giving a new narrative to the continent that we desperately need.
Yeah. Are you loving it? Are you loving this place?
I'm loving Mama Africa in general. I come from Tanzania, and now I'm here in Kenya before I actually go on to Tanzania and other countries. So I'm loving it here. I'm loving Kenya. I'm loving the motherland. Yeah.
And to see you sitting here and smiling and being this vibrant, it's hard for people to imagine that you have been through the most in life. First, allow me to take this opportunity and say thank you, because you are willing to share your story with us, but because I also understand the reason you are sharing your story is because you want to impact someone else's life. So take us through your story, Miss Queen.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I hope to touch someone in some way, just even if it's just to give them hope and courage to know that you don't have to be stuck in a low place just because you went through, a few things. And so I'll start with my childhood was in South Florida. I'm originally from South Florida. I'm a South Florida native, and that's where I was born and raised, Broward County. And my Broward-Dade County, and I would say I had a decent childhood for the most part. Raised by my mom, my grandma. My grandma kind of had to step in at some point because my mom, and she had her own situation with a guy she was dealing with, and so we definitely got that good old raising by the grandma. Me and my sister. I'm the baby girl out of two older sisters.
Yes.
And going into adulthood, I actually found this faith when I was 19, called Church of Christ. And that was really big for me. That was the first thing that I ever dedicated myself to, that I gave myself to, and I followed all of that, because they have a very unique doctrine. They're not like most just churches you walk into. It don't work like that. They're actually very strategic in the way they do things, and they only believe in the apostles' doctrine and no instruments and different things, you know, no women usurping authority over men and all of that type of stuff. And so I was in that, and I just thought that was the best thing in the world. Shortly after I joined that faith, it was definitely something that kept me and kind of helped me, not gonna lie, you know, because I could have just not had any type of faith, and who knows, you know, what would have happened. So even though it wasn't the best organization, it still kind of prevented some other things that could have been detrimental for me. And I also lost my dad. That you know, probably a year after that, I believe, I lost my dad, and he passed away to some illnesses, and that was very hard because I had watched him pass away, pretty much, and that was another turning point in my life. And I met my spouse at the time, and it started off all right, you know. There was a few red flags here and there that I was ignoring because I never really had that father figure. I had some good men in my life. I had my grandpa at the time before he passed, a great man, loved my grandpa so much. So I ignored some red flags. There was, while we were courting one another, because he was also in the church. I met him visiting I met him at a congregation, at a local congregation at the time in Broward. And man, you know, I felt like I needed this person. And sometimes we as young women, you know, when we don't know any better, you know, if we feel like this person could give us even just a little bit of something, we give, and we feel like we need that. And you know, it's unhealthy. And even my mother, you know, she had a man that led her, she's married now to a great man, and she's doing very well, and I'm so proud of my mother, and I'm happy. But before, she was with a dude for 20 years that led her a dog life. You know, he was horrible. So let me speak on that. As far as speaking on childhood, me and my sisters hated this man. We hated him. You know, he did things he wasn't supposed to do to even my oldest sister. You know, he had my mother doing things that she had no business doing when it came to drugs and alcohol. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
You know, gosh, he was the worst. He was a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, and I resent my mom a lot for bringing this man into our life from when I was younger. But she was also young and didn't know any better. She was a young 20-something-year-old girl with 3 girls.
Trying to make
And
ends
she,
meet.
yeah, she always catching buses. She was a hard-working woman before this man. So a man come to you, you a young 20-something-year-old girl with 3 young girls, and he's offering you, he's a big-time drug dealing dude. You know, he did his time for it. You know, this ain't snitching. You know, he did his time, but he was a big-time drug dealer guy at the time. So, you know, he's coming and selling you a dream. You gonna take care of me and my girls, and I don't have to struggle no more? I'm taking it.
I'm good.
I'm taking it. You don't know if this man a pedophile. You don't know where the hell he come from. You know, which he did some stuff to one of my oldest sister, but you know, she nipped it in the bud real quick. But you know, he wasn't right. And so when I couldn't recognize certain things within myself, you know, there was obviously a lot. This isn't just to point fingers. You know, obviously there was still a lot that I didn't know for myself as to why I even fell for something that was so unhealthy and toxic. But I saw my mom do it. She gave herself such a big heart. My mother has such a huge heart. Just a loving woman. I'm going to cater to this man. That's all I know. It's just to cater. No matter what drama he's giving me, no matter what toxicity he's giving me, this is what I know. And we see that. So we're going to do that, right? I did the same thing.
What were the red flags?
The rage, like he would have these outbursts of rage and anger, you know, especially if a conversation wasn't going his way. or if there was a disagreement or whatever, argument or whatever the case, we'll be in the car and, we'll be discussing something, and I may not, I'll say, well, maybe we should do it like this, or well, why go that way, or, just regular people having a talking, not even yelling. And next thing you know, we're driving on the highway, I-95, whatever, and he goes into this rage. And I don't know how many car accidents I almost got into with this guy because of, his rage. It doesn't matter where we are, whether we're in the house, whether we're in the car, it doesn't matter where we are. When that switch flips, it's a wrap. He has no control over anything. You just gotta wait until it dies down, and you just gotta hope for the best while you're in the middle of that rage. And so these are some of the things that I saw, and I remember talking to a church sister at the time about it. And gosh, sometimes I wish I listened to the sister more, because she just has so much common sense. Like, don't you think that's not right? Like, you saw him do that, and what is that telling you? And I'm just like, no, I love him, and and no, it's okay, and I'm trying to do everything by the scriptures, right? We're supposed to be like Christ, right? We're supposed to be forgiving. We're supposed to, 70 times 7, that scripture? Like, how many times? No, I'm not going to give up on him. I always saw the best, and not just him and everybody, right? And give the benefit of the doubt.
But in real sense, you are making excuses for his behavior.
Yes, I was. Mm-hmm. And so those are some of the red flags. I did get hit prior to the marriage before, because it was an abusive marriage, of course, and I'll speak on that. I remember one night, it was like a family event going on or something, and there was a situation where I was giving some of my resources and my time, and I was there. I was just a girlfriend. We weren't even engaged yet, but I was trying to help out and do things, and I just didn't feel that I felt it was being taken for granted. And I remember speaking to him on, hey, well, I'm trying to do this. Can you, help me, or something of that nature. I remember asking for his help or something, and expounding on, I should be able to have a voice, right? I should be able to talk. Mm-hmm. Two humans should be able to talk without fearing one is going to get hit, and I didn't notice at the time. I just knew about his anger and his rage, but this was the first night that I actually got hit by him. And I remember that he's the type where, he doesn't just hit, he would keep going. And I remember running and trying to stop him, and he's like, yeah, you better, get the hell out of here, kind of thing. And that was the first time I said, wow, like this guy is capable of putting his hands on me, because I had never had anybody put their hands on me before, like not a man, not in a relationship. And so, yeah. Still married him. Mm-hmm.
You went ahead and married him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once we actually got married, because we were only together for about that year, a couple months, almost a year, and then we got engaged and then we got married at the end of the year of 2011. And oh my goodness, the first week, this blew my mind. I think this probably was one of the worst. And we had got into a disagreement that night before bed, or it was something, and he locked me out of the room because of a disagreement, or I don't even know, we were just talking. Most of the stuff is always starting with just discussions of communication. And I remember him being annoyed. I guess he felt, he had this control issue too. So if I'm annoying him, well then, let me get her the hell out of the room. So he would kicked me out of the room. I remember we were still living in a house that he had inherited at the time. So there was a room across from us that was empty. So I'm locked out of my own room with my new husband. And it was within the first week of us even being married. And I'm sleeping in the room, and I wake up early because I hear him up now, and I'm trying to discuss last night. I just felt low. There was a lot of moments where I felt like an animal, kind of low. And this was kind of one of them, because as a woman, you don't want some man pushing you out of your own room over a disagreement and locking you out of your own room. Is like, exactly. Who the hell does that? Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to talk to him. He's getting ready to go to a Bible study for men, like on a Tuesday or something. And I'm just like, you're about to go to church for a men's Bible study, but you just treated your wife like a dog last night, you know, like, I don't think that's something, and I'm thinking this in my head, of course I didn't say this, but I'm trying to discuss things with him, and because he just doesn't want to be bothered, you know, I think I even took the keys, I had the keys, I'm like, you know, I don't want to say his name, but I'm like, you know, let's talk about this, you know, like something, it just didn't feel right in my spirit that to be treated a certain way. Next day, you know, he goes into a rage because I have the keys. And I give him the keys because I see he's getting angry. It's too late. He chases me around the house, pushed me down, you know, he starts kicking me everywhere, from my stomach, my back, my butt area, just kicking me. And then he bends down, just start hitting me in my face. And that was probably one of my lowest moments at the beginning of the marriage. And I just was so grateful his brother was home, because his brother ran out and grabbed him and was like, you know, you never seen daddy, you know, he cursed, you know, you never seen daddy do no S like this. You know, what are you doing? You know, get off of that girl. Like, you never seen daddy do like this. Like, why are you hitting her? You know? And I just remember, I didn't know how to make it. Every situation was a divorce to me, you know, like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna leave me. I'm sitting there wondering if this man is gonna leave me for his actions, you know, and what he did. And so I would always try to clean up myself, clean up the place, cook something, so by the time he comes back, he could have dinner and he'll be okay, you know. And then I always end up apologizing,
even if you are not on the wrong.
right? And this was always the pattern. And so that was one of the first incidents, and we ended up going to our honeymoon like a week after that. You know, there was always something where we just couldn't get along and things. And then obviously there were more moments. He went out to Afghanistan. He went out to Afghanistan the next year because he was military, and he comes back. During Afghanistan, you would think, you know, two people would miss each other, right? No. There was always arguments. There was always him not calling. He would only call his mother and grandmother, not call to check on me. He would always freeze the money or, you know, take me off the accounts and things like that. He would just do spiteful things, you know, for no reason most of the time, and always over disagreements or us being, we were young. It was like 2021 when we got married. So it was just like us growing and learning each other. And then, but this person with, you know, these issues, you know, of personality disorder or anger and rage, you know, issues. And so that would happen a lot. That was some of the worst times, even when he was in Afghanistan. And when he came back from Afghanistan, I don't know who he was. He came back. If I thought he was a monster before,
he became double monster.
He was Freddy Krueger, Jason, all in one. I didn't know who he was. He wasn't even half of the Christian man that I thought that I knew. It was like a lot of the principles just kind of went out the door. And at this time when he was coming back, I had actually met, because the person who married us, the preacher who married us, who I still love and respect so much, we ended up transitioning out of that congregation, and we met this new set of leadership, and they actually became like fathers to me. They were like dads, but I do feel that they dropped the ball a lot of times with how they handled situations when I would tell them, you know, this is what he's doing. And, you know, even though they have this philosophy where if it's you and a guy in a toxic marriage and he's putting his hands on you, yeah, they're going to talk to him and they're going to tell him about himself, but they're also going to talk to you and they're going to give Lynn what Lynn needs, you know. But what could you have said different, or what? I don't care, and I don't even use profanity. Yeah, you know, I'm an African girl. Yes. You know, I have a mouth, but not a crazy mouth. Yes. You know, and I never use profanity or anything. Yeah. I was doing what I felt was taking up for myself. So, like, well, you can't do this, you know, or, you know, hey, honey.
I have a problem with someone putting a hand on a woman, or someone putting even a hand on a man, and the first thing someone asks you is, what did you do to get beaten up?
Exactly.
Like, what did you do?
Nothing warrants
Yeah.
a man putting their hands
No,
on
no,
you.
no,
Or a
no,
woman.
no.
I didn't put my hands on him because
No.
I didn't believe in
I
that.
could have done something, but just don't hit me.
Yeah.
You know, don't hit me. I just have a problem with that, honestly.
And it was usually always just me, you know, saying, honey, you know, this is not right. You can't do this. A lot of times, you know, because he was young, we had a lot of issues at the beginning of our marriage with girls. Okay. I done been disrespected. You wouldn't even believe. I done been having to do investigations and figure out phone numbers and call the girls to try to figure out, because in the church we go by a different set of rules. You know, infidelity, that's automatic. You know, I'm in the clear. You know, but even still, when I had outs, I never took them. Even scripturally, when I had outs to be like, oh, well, you were trying to go meet with this girl. Even on my birthday, he tried to go see some girl. And if these girls were willing, ain't no telling. And there still ain't no telling the things that he probably have already done that I don't even know about. You know, and the girls would tell me, yeah, he did. Yeah, he called. Yeah, he called me this. Yeah, he said, yeah, he called my kid his daughter. Yeah, he's, you know, calling other people's kids his, and what he want to do to the girl, and let's meet up, and all of these things while I'm in the house, you know, and while I'm also being abused, you know. And I would try to discuss these things with the elders, or I did, you know, and I really do feel I wish they handled it a little bit better. You know, I always felt as if they really didn't understand. They really didn't understand me and what I was going through, or how to handle the situation properly. Because I could have lost my life at any time. There were times where I just didn't even tell him about situations where I got hit, you know, or push, choke, slap, whatever. I remember one day I could have I almost lost consciousnness because of how hard I was pushed against the wall, and there was a hot iron still on from him doing his clothes, and it had just missed my face and my body. And I'm just like, I can't do this. You know, there's times where he's bent and twisted, you know, my arm, you know, and my wrist. There's even a finger that don't do the same because of him, you know, and the things he used to do. And I would have to beg him to please let me go. It would hurt where I thought my arm was gonna snap. You know, times where I'm bleeding, I don't even know where's blood coming from. I'm missing work, you know, I'm hiding from family. I'm hiding this stuff from family, you know, just we're losing furniture every time. He's damaging everything every time. It was a lot. There's moments where police had to be called. I've never also called the police on him, ever, because that protection. I always felt like I needed to protect him, you know. And one thing I felt was, if he ever gets the police called on him, or he ever ends up in the system, it won't be because of me, you know. And in the States it's like that. It's like, well, I'm not putting I'm not putting my black husband in the system, not me. You know, the neighbors have definitely called the police because they've heard things, and when the police come, I would lie, everything's okay, you know, kind of thing. And they obviously could see that he just threw my clothes. He always had a pattern. Even the elders knew, you know, we knew his patterns. He'd get upset, he'd tear up the place, he'd leave, probably go to his mama house somewhere, hide out, grandma house, whatever, for 2 days and come back. I knew that if I left and I came back with the elders, my clothes may be all over the place, stuff thrown everywhere, outside, like throw my stuff outside. Embarrassing, because we live in an apartment complex, and so people see, you know, they always hear it or see it. It was so embarrassing. It was so degrading. It was everything. And we were still going to church. So imagine having to get up every Sunday, because we worship every Sunday. Now you go into worship and you feeling crazy, looking crazy, you know, trying to hide everything, still trying to protect this man, you know. And every time we separated, I always said, no, I'm going to fight for my husband. I'm going to fight for my marriage. Always. Just now, stupid, now that I see, it just wasn't smart. But that's what I did.
At what point did you decide enough is enough? I have to save my soul.
You know what's funny? Sometimes we women just get tired. It's almost an unexplainable feeling. I just grew tired. I started, well, first off, just so you know, the abuse was not just physical. It was mental, it was emotional, and it was spiritual. Okay, I felt like nothing. I didn't have an education at the time. You know, I didn't have anything in my name. You know, he was this whole military veteran. You know, he had a little education on him. He was still getting his education. You know, he used to be a part of all these different things. He was a song leader. He was also a preacher at one point. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention was he was a preacher. We were in this little town, I'm not going to name the town, in Oklahoma, where he got a preaching gig, and he was a preacher for about 15 months. Imagine. And there was an incident that happened there as well, where he actually pushed me down while I was in the chair. It was like this wooden chair, and my face like smacked the towel. And I'm so used to just, I don't even think no more. I just act, you know, because I know his patterns. You know, when he gets started, he gonna keep going. You know, he doesn't know when to stop, and I'm not just gonna sit there.
So you ran.
Man, well, as soon as my face hit that floor, I jetted to the front door. And I know it seems funny, you know, and it's like, but hey, I gotta get the hell out of here. And I remember jetting out, you know, so I jet out, and he'd come to the door, he'd say, you better leave, you better get out of here, don't you come back. And I'm thinking, look at this preacher. Look at the preacher. So even with him, you know, hitting me and putting his hands on me for 6 years, this happened in the span of 6 years we were married. There wasn't a year that went by, it wasn't a month or a time where we didn't go through certain things. I've had bruises, you know, where I couldn't even sit. You know, I would have to be sitting like this for a week until I heal, you know, different things. And he would see, because now I still got to lay with this man. You getting beat up and you still got to lay with this man. And he would see, because I'm naked. I had a nickname. It was Puka. You know, oh, Puka, daddy sorry. It would always be daddy sorry. You know, that's where, daddy sorry. So the time where I realized that I was tired, it was two incidents. One, we were actually in the car and he was doing nothing. We were actually speaking about something, and it was kind of a disagreement, but not so much. But I remember him saying, whoa, you know, and kind of getting loud, but he reached over my side because he was trying to get something out of the glove compartment maybe or something. And I jumped, you know, and I got scared and I got spooked and I had this flashback, and he just looked at me and he's like, whoa, honey, I'm trying to, you know, get something. And I'm just like, whoa, you know, and that's when I realized that I was developing somewhat of a PTSD or, you know, something where I don't even know when he's about to do something. And this happened multiple times. But at this point when it happened, I couldn't talk to him about it. How can I talk to my abuser about what's going on? So I called one of the elders and I had to pretend like it was a friend, and he knew better because he'd been with us throughout the span of 5 years where he knows us better. And he's just like, are you talking about you, Sister Samuels? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm talking about me, explaining to him, you know, the flashback I had and how I thought he was about to hit. And then we had one more situation that had actually happened after that, because we were discussing maybe a separation because we were trying to get him to go to anger management and things of that nature. And so he agreed at one point, all right, fine, we'll do like a scheduled separation. Our lease is almost up. We'll separate just for a time, like the scriptures say, just for a time to come back together so that neither party is tempted, right?
It's in the scripture?
Yeah, separating for a time, but then to come back together, you know, only for a time so that neither one is tempted, you know, kind of the situation. And so that's what the plan was originally, so he could have that counseling and see what it's like to be alone and to get that counseling and to be separated from the person that you supposedly laid your life down for. You know, maybe we were hoping this helped. We were hoping this helped for him to see me in a better light and have, you know, see that I have value
and appreciate you.
Yes. And so he got upset at some point. He didn't, you know, he was very wishy-washy. He had a personality disorder. One minute he'd be okay with something, and the next minute he's not. It was almost like he was bipolar in a way. And so this one day, he must have thought about it and was like, you know, I don't like this. And, you know, he was just upset and angry. And I was out doing laundry at a laundromat, like down the street. So, you know, I was back and forth. And at this particular laundromat, if you don't come get your clothes in time, they'll start taking your stuff out for you and wrapping it up. And I don't want nobody, you know, touching stuff. So I'm like, hey, honey, you know, he had the keys. And I'm like, you know, I need the keys so I could go get the, you know, clothes. Let's talk about this when we come back, kind of situation. No, with him, it's, it's right now, you know, and it's like, honey, you know, let me. So, you know, he's ignoring me and he's feeling whatever way, he's saying whatever. He has the key sticking out of his pocket. I'll just try to reach for the key, you know, and I did. And he immediately grabbed my hand. And we had this half bathroom that was adjacent from the kitchen. And he pushes me and slams me in the door. And my feet, I'm tiptoeing. This is how, this young man, you know, he's strong. You know, he army strong, for real. And he lifts me. He has me by one hand, lifts me, feet like this off the floor. My butt cheek is pressed against the doorknob of the bathroom. And for the first time out of every time he's ever hit me, choked me, did whatever, I didn't know if this time he was going to actually let go. He was so angry. He was so upset. He would not let go. I was so scared, Lynn. That was probably one of the scariest moments with him. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to die. Like, I'm about to pass out. This is it. This is finally the moment where I've always thought which incident was going to take me out. And by the grace of God, right before he let go, and I just fell to the floor. And I picked whatever energy I had in me, I found whatever might, and I jetted to that room, and I locked the door. And I dialed 911, but Lynn, I couldn't press send. And I cried. I cried because I felt so pathetic that I couldn't even press send. That this man had no regard and was probably about to take my life, and I can't even press send to protect myself because I'm not gonna, you know?
Yeah.
And he just came to the door and was like, sorry, I ask that you forgive me. As I'm just breaking down in tears and not wanting to have the police come and pick my husband up. And that was the moment.
That was the moment.
That was the moment where I said, yeah, we're good. We something has to happen. And then we still live together. You know, I was on the couch, he was in the room, but we were preparing for separation, you know, starting to separate bank accounts and different things of that nature. And his anger, he got very nasty with me, you know, very nasty, very upset because he didn't want it. You know, he wanted his marriage just the way it was, where he had the control, you know, where he still had his wife and where he could do whatever the heck he wanted to do. And I remember having that one last conversation with one of the elders. It was the day that we were supposed to be paying the last portion of rent to start getting out of there that week. He was so upset. And I had to leave out with the car. I talked to one of the elders about the situation, and the elders were telling me, you know, what to do. And I came back, and this man was putting my stuff outside, and I saw the door cracked open. And for the first time, I called the police. I said, and because I was told to, but he was like, I said, brother so-and-so, if I call the police, I'm not getting him arrested. Even still, I said, I'm not going to have the police arrest him. I'm not going to send him to jail. They said, no, baby, not to send him to jail, but have the police be there to help escort you to get your things. And so that was the first time, you know, I had to call the police. I just told them, hey, you know, I'm here with my spouse. He has a history of domestic violence. I just want the police, someone to be here to help me get my things, because he's putting my stuff out right now. And I knew that if he didn't see me, the door was cracked open, but if he would have saw me, it probably would have been a wrap then. So I ran back to the car before he saw me, and that was the first time the police had ever came, and they helped me get my stuff out. It was like August of 2017, I believe it was. Yeah. And we were separated, and then the divorce is final ever since. That's the story of that, and that's not even in detail, you know, of every single incident I've ever been through, every time I've ever been humiliated, where he's locked me out of my own house half naked, you know, clothes thrown, phone thrown somewhere, just completely degraded, you know, when you feel like you've been a good spouse to someone, you know, you were a good wife, you know, I was always faithful, never stepped out on him, you know, God-fearing. You're trying to follow these scriptures. These same scriptures could have got my head chopped off, you know, these same scriptures could have been what, and I'm not blaming the actual scriptures, I'm not blaming the actual, you know, religion itself, even though I'm not subscribed anymore to that organization, you know, or that religion. I'm just not.
You just think they should have done better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've been through different congregations, and there was one elder leadership that actually handled it a little bit better. One that was actually, even though in the scriptures or in the Church of Christ they don't believe in divorce, there was even elders who didn't believe in divorce that was saying, you know, because they was thinking about if I was their own daughter. They had daughters. And, you know, and which is so funny because a lot of the church leaders, they talk a big game, and they talk a big game when it comes to those scriptures, but they also have daughters. And if it was their daughter, they started giving me the advice they would give their own daughters. Well, hey, to hell with it, divorce them.
Divorce
you know, and,
yes.
and I remember a lot of people, I started to be scrutinized and ostracized by a lot of church members as well in different congregations where I didn't even feel comfortable after the separation and the divorce going to certain congregations because certain people look at you funny, right? You know, where it's like, oh, you know, you going to hell, you know, because it's like, well, then I'll go to hell and I'll see him there, and I'll probably go see you there too. It was to a point, that's how tired I was of the abuse and that marriage. I was willing to go to hell. I got comfortable with hell. I was like, fine. It can't be worse than that. Unless the devil down there choking people, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I got so comfortable with going to hell. I said, take me to hell. Take me. Can you take me down? Fine. But if you think I'm going to stay in that, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
And I would suggest a lot of young ladies, especially in the church, because it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Sorry to have to say this, but the church could be a very dangerous place to have a marriage and a relationship when you go back and you're trying to talk to leaders and they don't understand the severity of the situation, and they're putting you back in that home, and they're putting you back in that situation. And even if the person doesn't have the intent to kill you, they could still make a mistake. I've had at least 2 or 3 incidents where it could have been game over for me. Then how would those elders would have felt if he would have had to call 911 and, you know, or the ambulance would have had to come, or he would have had to say, brother so-and-so, they're saying that she's not breathing, or whatever the case. Because I've had at least 2 or 3 incidents where it could have been game over.
Yeah.
I thought I was close, and it was scary, and I just be brushing it off. Cleaning up the house after he jack it up, cooking a meal, and ready to say I'm sorry, ready to get on my knees, ready to, you know what I mean, to please, to do whatever to have this man not divorce me for abusing me. But what the hell did I do?
What the hell?
I did nothing to warrant him to ever put his hands on me. And then, of course, you get conditioned. If you ever take like an introduction to, psychology, and one of the first chapters, they talk about how they condition the animal, you know, when the dog barks or something, they zap it, and then eventually, you know, wherever the situation may be, the dog knows not to bark. That's what I was. I was a dog being conditioned.
You were a dog in your marriage.
Absolutely. Being conditioned to him and what he wanted. And I didn't realize how much I actually went through on so many different levels.
Until
until I started doing shadow work, until I really started to analyze things.
Talk to me about that, you know, your spiritual awakening and the shadow work that you have had to do on yourself.
Yes. I think really my shadow work may have started in the military. But even though I wasn't truly awakened, or I wasn't conscious or coming to consciousness, as I would say, because and don't ask me why. I actually wanted to join the military, and it was supposed to be the Air Force, but I ended up joining the Army. Long story. And it was actually supposed to be me being like a broadcast specialist, or, you know, communication specialist, because, you know, I went to school for that.
Yeah.
And ended up being a human resource specialist. You know, the Army does that to you. After you swear in and a job is available, and all of a sudden the job is not available, and you're like, y'all got me. And they're like, hey, but it come with a bonus. And you're like, oh, no. And it's like, all right, well, this is one more thing I'll add to the resume. Why not? So I ended up joining the military. Probably not one of the best decisions that I made, but I'm still grateful for the experience. Because what it did do was it actually was a blessing in disguise, because it helped me to understand the hidden traumas that I had from my marriage, and even some things from childhood, but mostly a lot of the stuff I went through in my marriage. Because he's also a veteran. He was also reserve, military, Army Reserve at the time. And so as I was hospitalized twice in the military. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and anxious distress. And I never owned it or claimed it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the name for it. I didn't even know. You just think you're having a day, but somebody's telling you, no, you have major depressive disorder with anxious distress. This is what we're diagnosing you with. Look at these symptoms. You know, I had a therapist like, read this. This is what you told me. You don't even realize this is what you told me last week, or this is what you're feeling, and this isn't healthy on a consistent basis. And I had kind of 2 breakdowns when I was in the military, and I didn't have a really good unit in North Carolina. I didn't have a good unit at all, and I'll tell you why. They didn't handle problems very well. They were always sweep problems under the rug. So my first incident was with this sergeant, okay? And we'll talk about the spiritual and how this relates to it. But there was this sergeant who was like kind of verbally abusing, you know, some of the soldiers. And I had an incident with him. This sergeant was modeling a lot of the behaviors from my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And I had a meltdown. I had a breakdown, and I was going through some things, and they weren't handling the situation properly. They were allowing this man to ostracize me and continue the verbal abuse and different things. And I had an incident where a master sergeant actually, and the chaplain, whoever, a lot of them, we were having these meetings, and they saw me break down, and I had to be evaluated, and it wasn't good, and I had to be hospitalized. And that was the first time I was hospitalized. And it was very embarrassing. You know, you feel like you're this Army strong. You know, I done passed these tests. I done did these, you know, different courses, and but now mentally I'm broken down. And the second incident was when I was on my barracks room floor, and this is my first time ever talking about this, with a knife. You know, and cutting myself on my wrist. Because that unit had became such a toxic place for me. It was a lot of things that was happening, not just to me, but other soldiers. And it became so toxic. And when you're in the military and you're government property in the States, that's it. If you're 17, 18, 19 and you're in there, and the parent calls and they want to know what's up or what's going on, the parents don't have that right anymore. You belong to that unit. You belong to all of your leadership. I didn't see a way out. It was becoming very unhealthy for me. So I was in like intensive counseling a lot. And as I was doing that trauma work, which is all that counseling was, you know, or the, you know, therapy that I was going to, I did not realize that a lot of what I was going through and a lot of what I was reliving and a lot of the issues that I was having and was being pulled out of me was coming from past childhood traumas and traumas of my ex-marriage. And so that was really the beginning of trauma work, and I didn't really know. But coming into consciousness earlier this year, that's when it got real. I actually, it was religion that prompted it, because there was still in the Church of Christ. I was still in the Church of Christ at this time, even after my divorce, even in the military. I was still going to congregations on Sunday, every Sunday, that may have been around the base. And when I actually got out of the military, I was medically retired, beginning early this year, like literally the first month of this year. And so I said, I'm gonna start me a new life in Dallas. You know, I had all these plans, you know, apartment tour, you know, I'm gonna put my degrees to use, because I had completed my master's degree while I was still in the military. I don't even know how I was able to do all of these things I did. I was just like, how are you doing this, Kiara?
Yeah.
I was working as a guest educator at the time for Irving School District in Dallas, and then next thing you know, the corona situation happened, so it shut everything down. So now I'm home, like everybody's home, and at this time nobody is meeting. You know, we have to do the social distance. But the scriptures say, you know, do not forsake the assembly. You know, where there's two or more, there am I in the midst. You know, Jesus, you know, in the midst. And so I'm like, all right, so how am I gonna worship? I have no spouse, I have no kids. You know, we're shut down. We can't touch each other, be close to each other. You know, how this gonna work out? You know, I need to take the communion, because like I said, this actual organization, they worship every Sunday. They use the scriptures upon the first day of every week. You know, they break bread, so you gotta do communion every Sunday as well. But then there gotta be two or more in the midst, or Jesus ain't there. Right, Leah? That's the scriptures. These are the scriptures that they use in Church of Christ.
Zoom, Skype.
I don't know if Jesus come in Zoom meetings. I don't know. But so this is what happened. I call up this elder from a Church of Christ in Dallas. So I call up this elder, and now I'm asking questions, because I'm like, you know, I haven't taken my communion. You know, and I said, I've been to you guys' congregation before the shutdown. I don't know if you know me. I was sitting in the back. I was the young lady, blah, 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 you spoke with. You know, yeah. I said, well, you know, I'm looking at the scriptures from what I know. And I mean, I know the scriptures, you know, in different things. My ex-husband was a preacher, you know, I'm like, and I've been there, done that, I know. So what's supposed to happen to me, elder so-and-so? And he's like, oh, baby, don't worry about it. You know, we've been using those scriptures out of context for a while now, just to get people to show up. I said, wait a minute. I said, do you know who you're speaking with right now? I said, do you know what you're saying to me right now and what this means? Are you telling me that you have been taking the scriptures and using them out of context, like, do not forsake the assembly? You're saying that's not for that. That's not what that's for. You know, you're saying that the Church of Christ, you're admitting and proving what I've already been thinking, that you guys are just taking scriptures, any ones that you want that fit you, putting them together
and used it to best fit you.
Exactly. I said, so you're telling me, I couldn't even hear anymore. And he was just apologizing. He was like, I'm so sorry. He said, I just got to be so honest with you, you know, but he still wanted me to come and pick up the communion. And I'm like, well, ain't no need. There's no need. And that was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. My heart was actually very broken, that all I could think about was, I used this same organization. I used these same scriptures, the way that they modeled their Bible studies, is, you know, particularly to stay in something that was dangerous, you know, to live by a set of rules that was very how can I put it? They kind of kept you caged in, you know what I mean? And it was like mental enslavement almost. Yeah. That's when I started to do more studies on different religions and, you know, true spirituality. And that's how I came into what I practice now, which is just the God consciousness within us, and, you know, using different tools that come from nature, that come from the earth, like herbs and sage and crystals and different things, and still believing in the Creator. You know, I'm not an atheist or anything like that. Still definitely believe in the Most High and the Creator. And, but I don't subscribe to actual religions, man-made religions that have been brought to us when we were colonized, you know, or Christianity pretty much, or any other faith. So that's how I came to be who I am now, as far as what I believe. And it has helped me because of that. We do a lot of shadow work, and it's called inner work, and it's just pulling out a lot of different traumas and healing from that, to be better and to be a better you, and to be a more healthier, fulfilled you, and to recognize and to know you more. It's just knowing thyself. For me to know more of who I am, I'm able to recognize certain things. So if I even have a new encounter with someone now, you know, if you were someone else or another guy or anyone, I'm able to recognize patterns about myself. You know, I'm able to catch myself or recognize when I'm doing something, because I'm already working and healing on that. And it's helping to change and reconstruct my DNA. It's healing me. It's healing my ancestors. It's healing my future seeds. And that's how I came about with that. It also it's what prompted me to leave to come to the motherland earlier than what I was originally scheduled to do. And so, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for you to forgive your ex-husband, regardless of all the things he has done to you?
It's important for me to forgive him because he's still a human being. You know, he still has a spirit. You know, we're all spirit beings, and it's important. It's important for him to know, and we've actually conversed, you know, even after the situation, because that was also part of my healing. I needed to do that and to not be emotionally provoked, because if you're speaking to someone or you're going through something and you're emotionally provoked by it, that means there's still something within you that needs to be healed. And so it's very important for me to forgive him, because he still deserves to be forgiven. He deserves healing. And he also deserves to live his best life and to his full, and do whatever he wants to do to his fullest potential. I don't believe he deserves punishment. He just deserves healing.
So many young girls are watching you right now. Unlike you, they do not have the strength to come out. Unlike you, they are still waiting for the moment they say enough is enough. What advice would you like to give them? Even young men who are in abusive relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say that it's not healthy. It's not a healthy situation to be in. And I would say find the strength to separate yourself now. Realize your worth and your value now, because tomorrow is not promised. And yes, that's what I would recommend. Get out right now, so that to rectify the situation, whether it be for them to separate and to do their healing and what needs to be done to come back or to realize that, all right, this person, we need to go our separate ways, you know, because I care about my safety, I care about my well-being, and this person needs healing.
And when you know better?
When you know better, you definitely do better.
You do better.
Don't settle for anything. I would tell them, don't settle for anything. Know your worth and don't take anything, and do not put yourself in harm's way for anything, and for no religion, for no organization whatsoever.
Yeah. What advice do you have for the church? Because I feel like they play such a huge role in all this.
The advice I have for the church, I would say that I would hope that the leaders pay more attention to the couples that are coming to them for advice, and that are revealing in what's going on in their home and being transparent about what's going on in the home, and that they need to figure it out and take more action, take better action against abuse that may be happening in marriages in the church. I definitely believe that that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people might want to reach out to you. Where can they find you?
Oh boy.
Because I know you have something going on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Well, my YouTube is The Queen Key. It is The Queen. That's one word, Key, K-I. That's really it.
Yeah.
That's and then on my YouTube channel, if you type in The Queen Key, you'll see my picture, and in my descriptions, I have my other means of social media, and I also have my email, which is kikisj89@gmail.com. So that's KIKISJ89@gmail. And feel free to email me, reach out.
Yeah.
If they have any questions, or I don't know which camera to look at.
Yeah.
Oh, this one?
Yes.
So feel free to reach out if you just want to talk. I know what it's like. You have any questions. Yeah, don't let anyone play it down. I've been playing it down for a while, you know, and I've been hiding behind what I would call strength, you know, and smiles, you know. And I know a lot of people in the church have probably seen, oh, they think, oh, she's blossoming after the divorce and this and that and the third. No, you don't know. They don't even know what type of nights I've had. I still had nights where I would blame myself. I still had nights where I would even want this man back, where I would think, oh, did I just destroy my life? You know, still following scripture, still thinking about, oh, but you know, did I just destroy something that was supposed to be so amazing for me? And absolutely not. This is absolutely the path that I'm on and I'm supposed to be on. And there's great things that I'm planning to do here on the continent, different projects and things that I want to start. As I told you before, I now know that I am just 100% Mende, descendant of Sierra Leone.
Yes.
So I cannot wait to go to the villages there and meet my relatives and meet, you know, my family.
Yeah. Queen, what would be your parting shot to our lovely audience?
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much to the Tuko family for having me. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Yeah.
I appreciate you and what you and your crew and your Tuko family does for Kenya, and you are doing amazing things. I wish the best for you. I see so much for you. And you're headed for the stars.
Thank you.
You're already there. But I just want to thank you. Thank you, Tuko family. I wish everyone well. I send so much love, peace, and harmony, and just so many positive vibrations out to everyone. And yes, and this was not to degrade anyone or talk down on any organizations. It's just to tell the story and to
as it is.
Tell it as it is.
As it is.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Tuko Talks. I'm super honored to get to host you. Finally, this has also been a learning experience for me, you know. And also, the late Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. Absolutely. So no matter what you are going through right now, always remember there is a chance for you to do better and own your story. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think of today's episode. My guest was super awesome, and you know what we do. Go to her YouTube channel, subscribe, listen to the kind of stories she's trying to bring out, and don't forget to say Lynn from Tuko sent you. Let me know what you think of today's episode. If you want to share your story with me, my email is pinned on that comment section below. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Till next time, bye-bye.